Nothing gives what it does not have. You cannot draw water from a well that was always dry. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Whatever pours out was already inside, waiting there as capacity all along. It sounds obvious, almost too obvious to say out loud, but follow it carefully and this one rule turns out to hold up nearly everything we know and to run deeper than anyone notices. One thing before we go on, this film has a companion. It's called The Relating, and it comes first. If you haven't seen it, watch that one now. It's linked right here, and everything ahead will cut deeper once you have. Go ahead, I'll wait. And if you already have, then you've seen where this ends before we've even begun. Let's go find the law that put it there. This rule is old, older than science. Aristotle reasoned his way to it. Aquinas built arguments on it. The oldest way of saying it is just 4 words. From nothing, nothing comes. Philosophers give it a heavier name, the principle of causal adequacy. A cause cannot give what it does not already contain in some form. I'm going to call it something simpler, and I want to be honest about why. I did not discover this. No one alive did. But a container cannot pour out more than it holds. That is easier to feel than any of its formal names. From here on, I'll call it the container principle. The name is mine. The law belongs to everyone, and it was here long before any of us. Let's be precise about what contain means, because it's the part people get wrong. It doesn't mean the effect is hiding inside the cause, finished, waiting. Dinner is not sitting in the refrigerator, but everything it takes to make it, the ingredients, the heat, the knowledge, the hands has to be there first. The capacity must be present even before the thing itself exists. Sometimes the cause simply has the feature, fire is hot, so it can make things hot. Sometimes it holds the power to produce it. A seed is not a tree, but the whole tree is folded up inside it. And there is a third way. And this is the strange one. Hold on to it. Sometimes the feature only appears when the parts come together and begin to relate. Something shows up that was in none of the parts alone. We'll come back to it. It's the deepest part of this whole story. In every case, what shows up at the end was there at the start, as capacity. Nothing extra sneaks in. Nothing comes from nothing. Watch it hold. Start with energy. Seal a system off from the world. Put in a measured amount of energy. Now try to get more out than you put in. You can't. Not once, not ever. This is the first law of thermodynamics, and in a century of looking, nothing has broken it. In fact, you always get less useful work out than you put in. Some always slips away as heat, as disorder. The energy that comes out was in. The container never overflows. Physicists call this a conservation law, and conservation is just the container principle, written in energy. Now matter. Burn a log, flame, smoke, ash, heat. It looks like destruction, like the wood is being turned into nothing. But weigh everything. Every atom that was in the wood and the air is still here, in the smoke, the ash, the gas. Nothing was created. It was only rearranged. And the heat that pours out, that wasn't created either. The sun stored it in that wood years ago, and burning only lets it back out. You cannot burn wood and pour out gold, and you cannot pour out heat that was never put in. The container held exactly this, and no more. The container principle, written in matter. Now something stranger, information. Take a single bit of quantum information and destroy it. Scramble it completely, until every measurement you can make says it is simply gone. It looks erased. It looks like a piece of information vanished from the universe. In 2011, physicists actually did this, and then they went looking. They found every piece of it, intact, hiding in the world around it. Nothing was lost. It had only moved. This is the no-hiding theorem, and the experiment confirmed it. Information cannot be created, and it cannot be destroyed. Scramble it, bury it, and it is still there in somewhere, whole. The container principle, written in information itself. And now the strangest rung of all, not matter, not energy, not information, thought itself. Take an argument that actually works. All men are mortal. Socrates is a man, so Socrates is mortal. That last line feels like it produced something new. It didn't. Every word of the conclusion was already sitting inside the premises the moment you accepted them. You didn't create it. You unpacked it. A valid argument never adds. It only reveals what was already contained in what you started with. You cannot honestly conclude more than you assumed, which means this rule reaches past the world, into the very act of thinking about it. Step back and look at what we just did. Energy in equals energy out. Mass energy before equals mass energy after. Information sent equals information found. Premises contain the conclusion, 4 different domains, and one shape underneath all of them. 2 sides, and they must match. You have been looking at algebra the whole time. Every one of these is an equation, a statement that what is on one side was already on the other exactly, with nothing added and nothing lost. This is the container principle in its purest form. Not a fact about the world, the skeleton the world is written on. An equation is a container that must balance. And reality, everywhere we have checked, balances. And yet, everyone has seen something that seems to break this rule. Water appearing out of nothing, a cold glass on a summer table, and slowly beads of water forming on the outside. No one poured them. Nothing is leaking. The water simply arrives. For most of human history, this was a genuine mystery. People watched dew appear on the grass at dawn, out of a clear, dry sky, and reached for the only explanation they had, that it fell from the heavens, that it was made there from nothing. It looked like the container principle, broken, water with no container. And then we learned to see the air. The air around you, right now, is full of water, held in it as invisible vapor everywhere, all the time. The cold glass didn't create the water. It only gave the water that was already there a cold enough place to gather and become visible. It was never something from nothing. It was something from a container we could not yet see. The water was here the whole time, and that is the pattern. Every time reality seems to hand us something from nothing, it has never once been a broken rule. It has always been a container we had not yet learned to see. So we keep finding the missing parts of the equation, hidden in the air, hidden in the bonds, hidden in old sunlight. But now the harder question, the one I asked you to hold. When we finally find a container, what is it actually made of? Come back to that strange case. Bond hydrogen and oxygen, and you get water. So, where is water's wetness? Look for it in the hydrogen. It isn't there. Look in the oxygen. Not there either. Take the water alone, sealed in the dark, untouched. Is it wet? Wetness is not something water has. It is what happens when water meets skin and nerve and a mind to feel it. Take away the one who feels, and there is no wetness anywhere in the universe. The property was never inside the thing. It lived the whole time in the relation between them. Scientists have a name for this: emergence. And here is what it really is: not parts adding up to more than themselves, but new relationships becoming possible. When the parts come together, the new arrangement can suddenly relate to the rest of the world in ways the parts never could. Water can dissolve salt. It can climb the inside of a root against gravity. It can beat on cold glass. None of that was hidden in the hydrogen. None of it was hidden in the oxygen. Each new property is a new relationship, lighting up. So the container was never just the parts, and it was never even the parts and their laws. The container is the relating itself, and the parts are only where it touches down. If you saw the relating, you already know this. You watched everything underneath it all come from fields. And the field is not what relates, the field is the relating. This is the law that relating has been obeying the entire time. Nothing exceeds its container, and the container is the relating. So here is what this simple rule has been telling us all along. Nothing you have ever seen came from nothing. Every sunrise, every living thing, every thought you have ever had, every atom of you, all of it was already contained as capacity in whatever it came from, which came from something before it, which came from something before that, backward without a single gap. But now you know the container was never just the stuff, it was the relating, the whole web of law and relation that lets anything be anything at all. and every container leans on the ones beneath it and the web around it all the way down. Nothing is free-floating. Nothing is uncaused. Everything was carried here, and what carried it was the relating. You did not come from nothing. You were held as capacity in the relating, long before you ever appeared. Follow that chain, link by link, container inside container, relation inside relation, a rule that has never once been broken. So there is only one honest question left to ask. What happens when we apply the container principle to reality itself?